All right, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm now the moderator for the second session. My name is Salikon. I founded MSC Cyberport, invested in Johor, and I was chairman of industrial and entrepreneurial development of Johor many years ago. And how I'm going to conduct the session today is to break the session into two small sessions. One is on investment, attracting investors, and part two is on attracting, on promoting entrepreneurship. So since we have about 45 minutes, then we have 15-minute question answer, so that we can have just nice for a lunch. So each one of us for the first part of it, we'll have about 3 or 4 minutes, and then another second part about 2-3 minutes. Then we will open for a question about 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah. So very quick introduction, maybe 1 or 2 sentences, and then straight to the point. So now I would like to invite our overseas speaker, very important overseas speakers, already mentioning many times during MB speech, as well as first session speeches. So you are very important neighbors, and now up to you, Mr. Herman. Please.
Thanks, Salikon. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Herman. I'm from the Singapore Economic Development Board. So before you ask, or before I can see your thought bubbles as well, I'm not moonlighting for MIDA. I'm still a government employee of the Singapore government. But it'll become very apparent to you why I am here today, even though I'm working for the Singapore Economic Development Board. So first of all, let me thank KSI for inviting me to speak today. I think this is a very important and timely moment for us to be talking about the investment opportunities, not just in Johor and Singapore, but really in Southeast Asia. So let me begin by talking about where we see the regional context of investments and investment flows. Companies are looking really into Southeast Asia for two things. One, they're looking for supply chain and risk diversification. Over the last 2 or 3 years, with COVID lockdown, with disruptions in supply chains, I think companies are making sure that in the future, their production lines, their manufacturing bases are more robust and more resilient to shocks and changes. They want to make sure that there's business continuity, whatever happens going forward. And also, I think companies are looking at the overall geopolitical context. There are some trade tensions going on, and they want to make sure that they are mitigating those risks as well. But besides the risk factors that companies are trying to mitigate, the other thing that they're also looking at, amidst all of this gloom and doom, is where are the next opportunities going to be in the next 10 years? And we believe really that one of those areas that's going to be the big growth regions is Southeast Asia, right? And the numbers really sort of speak for themselves. If you think about it, you will have about 670 odd million people. It will be the 4th largest economy by 2030, about $10 trillion GDP. Southeast Asia's GDP growth rate forecasted to be about 5.2%, which is faster than China for the first time in about 3 decades. It will have the 3rd largest labor force in the world, right? 60% of which are under the age of 35. So if you're looking for opportunities, really Southeast Asia is that place to be, both as a market for consumers, both as an area for production, and an area to set up manufacturing bases. So opportunities are there to exploit, and that's really why companies are also looking at Southeast Asia with deeper intent. Risk diversification, and also growth opportunities going forward the next 10 years. And so that brings me to my next point. So within the whole spectrum of Southeast Asia, where would one set up? And here, of course, we're looking at Singapore as being top of mind, but also we see not just Singapore in its own, but actually companies see Singapore as part of a larger regional play. And here I think Iskandar Malaysia in particular comes in very, very much on the minds of companies when they're looking at Southeast Asia. They don't look at just one individual country or one individual jurisdiction. They're looking at Southeast Asia as part of a holistic and an integrated regional strategy, right? So they won't just look at Malaysia or Singapore on its own. They will look at how do I sort of make sure my footprint in the region is coherent and integrated as a single unit. So here, I think the opportunity for Iskandar Malaysia, for Johor, comes about. You have good sort of supply chain, hard-working workforce, infrastructure is their support. And here, we have very strong partners on the ground. For example, Nusajaya Tech Park has been a very strong partner for us. AME has also been a very strong partner for us. And I think together, we have shown that actually we can do a lot of work and partner together. And you've heard this, from the MB saying this morning as well, that actually we see complementarities, right? We're not seeing this as a zero-sum game. If the region as a whole grows, everyone wins. Because the pie is growing so quickly, there is enough for everyone really to sort of make sure that the pie is sliced up neatly and really everyone can benefit from the regional growth. So we don't see this as a zero-sum game. And just like the MB said this morning, we see this as a complementary sort of relationship between Singapore and Johor. And so let me be clear. I mean, this is not just some philosophical construct that we're talking about, right? We say, oh yeah, we will work together as pairs and partners. Let me give you a couple of examples of how these collaborative efforts have really manifested themselves really over the last year. I'll take 4 projects that have been approved by MIDA and that EB has had a hand in quietly in the background. GDS, on the largest hyperscale sort of colos from China, data center player. Insulet Corporation, an American company doing medtech and health equipment. SPC Group, which is a Korean company, food-related sort of products, including in Singapore, for example. If you've ever eaten at Shake Shack in Singapore, that's part of the SPC Group. And Colorcon, which is an American company in the medical and pharma space. So these 4 companies have broken ground over the last year or so, and have created or expected to create about 1,700 jobs in Johor, right? So that's not a small number, 1,700 jobs in Johor alone, and a total approved investment amounting to about 6 billion ringgit. So there's substantive good and mutually beneficial outcomes that can be achieved work together. And I think this is just a start, and this is just the ones that we have been involved in, but there are also others that we have set up on their own. And I think the point and the message to sort of register here with this crowd and this audience is that the opportunities that we can really reap from mutual beneficial outcome really far exceeds when we sort of think about a zero-sum game, right? And if we work together, we can really achieve some substantial outcomes. So that's really my main point today, Salikon. And I think we have a lot to do, but I think there's a lot of opportunities to be seized. And if we work together closely, we can really sort of win together. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman. I think now turn for Benedict to explain further because he's in Johor for some time. He worked so much, many things, assisting companies in Johor. Benedict can explore more from your point of view.
Thank you, Tuan Haji Salikon. Good morning, or rather good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank KSI, Tan Sri Michael Yeo, for the invitation. All right, my name is Benedict Francis. I'm the Southern Region Leader of PwC Malaysia. I'm also here as a representative of MICCI as the Vice Chairman. So I'm here to share a little bit about, how do we attract investments? How do I see the business landscape? As Tuan Haji Salikon mentioned that, I've been here for so many years. In fact, I've been here my entire life. I'm a Johorian, right? So I'm not a foreigner. If some of you think that I'm a foreigner, I'm not. I'm a Malaysian. I'm a Johorian. Yeah? Okay, just to share a little bit of perspectives, Yang Amat Berhormat Menteri Besar have said a lot about Maju Johor 2030. So, and he mentioned 6 strategic trusts, right? So some of those are things like government administration, economic growth, social safety net, and things like environment and sustainability, just to name a few. But in my mind, I think what's important for Johor, if it wants to be prosperous, sustainable, and livable the longer term in Malaysia, right? I think it has to move the needle, right? It has to focus on things like economy, social, environmental, and governance and delivery. I think these are the 4 key trusts, I would say, that Johor needs to focus on. And if you talk about the first one, economy, I think things like, for example, diversified and entrepreneur friendly, right? So we need to be that, and I think we need to walk the talk, right? The other point is about government intervention in terms of policy choices. And this has to be done in consultation with the business community and also the chambers. I think we have got so many chambers, the Malay chambers, the international chambers, Indian, Chinese, etc. So I think it's good that we work in consultation, we work together, right? And of course, the other thing is cooperation with Singapore. I think Herman has rightly put it that I think it's best that we work together, we collaborate. I think we can do a lot together. In fact, personally, Herman and I, we've been, talking for a couple of years. Even we first met during the COVID days, right? Yeah, virtually. And I think it has been a good discussion, yeah, with Singapore. The other point is about social. I think what are the areas of focus I think Johor need to put its effort in. I think it's not that he has not done anything, but it has to take it to the next level. I think these are things like education, things like healthcare, or even housing, right? And the third one is on environment. I think it's important that we focus on the preservation of natural environment, and of course, on disaster prevention and mitigation. When you talk about disaster prevention and mitigation, I think the Johorians here would know that, Johor went through a very bad flood recently, and I think a lot of damage has been done, and how do we move forward and fix those problems? And I know that the Menteri Besar himself has been, at the forefront and trying to solve some of these problems and talking to various stakeholders on this point, yeah? On governance and delivery, I think I would say what's important is the Johor has to be business-centric. And I think one of the important points for me would be alignment, okay? Alignment at all government levels. I think this is something that's very important because sometimes we hear that, the policymakers are very clear about what needs to be done, but it is not filtered through to the, if you say the local authorities, for example. So we need alignment so that when investors come into Johor, they are able to seamlessly set up shop in Johor, right? The other points would be on digitalization. I think if we were to take it to the next level, I think digitalization is important. And I know that the Johor state has been looking at this very closely and working on it. Fair policies to attract professional businesses and partnerships, yeah? So this is important. I think we have to work together, hand in hand, and try to make sure that, we see Johor as the next economic powerhouse. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. Now we come to the speaker. He's a foreigner from France. He's invested FDI in Malaysia. And as you know, Malaysia accepting or receiving about 60% FDI. So Menteri Besar already mentioned 260 billion in the next 8 years. So perhaps maybe Herman can explain or explore, give us some view how we are going to meet that investment target. Please, Herman.
Thank you, YB. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ibrahim Thomas. Thank you for having me today. Thank you to KSI for the invitation. So I'm a French consultant. I'm based in Kuala Lumpur for the past 9 years. And today the topic is about how to attract more investors, whether it's foreigners or domestic to Johor. As a mini investor myself, I set up my own company last year. I'm advising French and Swiss companies to enter the Malaysian or ASEAN markets. I would say my intervention today, the key word would be stability. Stability of course, the government, because I've been here for 9 years and I've seen already 5 prime ministers. Stability of the legal framework, because for investors it's very scary to have laws changing when they are already halfway through crossing the bridge. As an example of changes of laws for SMEs, Malaysian SMEs, next year, the taxation will change if, for small companies like mine, for example, currently we have a flat rate of 17% of tax, but next year, as a 100% foreign-owned company, it will raise up to 24%, except if I take a Malaysian co-partner up to a minimum of 80%. So it's a big change for small foreign-owned SMEs in Malaysia. So we hope that not so many changes happen like this. Stability also of the access to the power supply, water supply, because we've heard a few stories in Johor about factories not having enough electricity or having difficulties to have access to water. So for an investment in a factory of 20, 30 years, they need to be sure that they will have access to these utilities all the time. So stability is a key word to attract long-term sustainable investment to Johor. Thank you very much.
Okay, we are progressing very well as far as timing, sir. So maybe we will have our lunch on time, yeah? Don't worry. Okay, next, FDI is crucial, and probably we need more and more FDI in order to get that numbers, 200 billion, as well as 7% compounding growth, and become a developed nation, developed state by 2030. So having said that, we also not forgetting the importance of DDI. Mr. Sim is always man of DDI and also now trying to go outside the country. But perhaps you can highlight what needs to be done to have more triple or more DDI in Johor. Please, Mr. Sim.
Thank you. Good morning. See Dato, all the fellow guests for this forum. My name is Tiang Liang. I'm the CEO of Kim Corporation Berhad, involved in construction, property development, concrete product manufacturing. I have been working in government for 19 years, working with JKR, DARA, JKR. So this regional development agency we had set up in the year of 1970 during the Dato time. So now we got ADA and the East Coast development to take our development of nation to another level. This morning we heard the Menteri Besar speech is very enriching speech and very encouraging speech. This brings hope to all of us, especially the young. There's a lot of things for us to do to develop Malaysia, Johor Maju. So FDI is important, but bear in mind, most of FDI, the investment is only a fraction of the product from our local. Most of it are imported. Actually, what benefit is the foreign country more than us. Now I'm emphasizing the local investor, local investment. What to do to all our talented people and all our Malaysia are not poor. Malaysia is a good country. We got a lot of rich people. Where they park their money, that's important. And young people, what you want to do? You are young, you are talented, but you need to be entrepreneur. Like me, I take risk. Come up by a comfort zone from government service to come up to a construction company. It's a risky, dirty business to do. But we have to modernize our construction industry, our agriculture industry, even our coffee shop. All these people. Now, to train our young people to step out to contribute to the nation, we start from the ground. So I can give an analogy that our MB have given us a very good speech. The sky is clear. Now the aeroplane is ready. With all the panel section speaker, all the pillar of grow and trust. Now we need passengers to be on the plane. The pilot is our MB, so they can take off. Johor definitely is going to take off. Johorian, we have been building Singapore. Say to say, 50% of Mount East specialists during my year are from Malaysia. The chief CEO of the big corporation are from Malaysia. We can do it. So now, what we need to do is modernize our small enterprise. Start from coffee shop. I'm very encouraged. I just came back from Cebu, a small town of East Malaysia. I just reached early this morning. They have the modern cafe. They buy their own coffee bean, process their coffee powder, and export. Don't look down on this. This is where our people can do, and there is a lot of this modern cafe around. Then next step, we got modern coffee. These are small things. And for us, construction is the oldest industry. Malaysians are good builders. We have export our expertise overseas. So for here, nearer to Singapore, the important thing is we need to have an industrial hub, precast industrial hub, whereby a lot of precast in Singapore, they can move over here. In fact, they have migrated, some of them, out of 130 over precast companies in Singapore. There are more to come. So the government need to prepare infrastructure together with the jetty for export all these precast component, because this precast component is getting more heavy. It's now doing a prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric construction. The whole bathroom, this room, hall will be built, complete and established on site. These are very heavy components. So we suggested he will be export by sea, not by road. Otherwise, our causeway have more jam. So these are some of the things we local people can do. And these are modernized agriculture. And thinking of a retirement home. I think Malaysia is the best place for retirement home, especially Johor. Singapore's cost of living high. These are areas we can develop locally.
Thank you, Mr. Lim. Now, four speakers already speak up. And perhaps our next speaker is also very important. More point, more highlight to be, shared. And we need more investor to invest in Johor. So how do you think this can be materialized? Mr. Tony.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. Thank you, YB Salikon. Okay. I'm actually a founder of the Mind Growth Solutions. I was working with a Japanese multinational for 16 years, and my various experience in manufacturing around 27 years. And my last position in the multinational as a president of the multinational. And perhaps that talking about the investment, of course, the outsider or the investor looking for the a lot of the benefit or some of the item that can be easily make a business in Malaysia especially. And what are they looking at if talking about the benefit? Of course, they are looking for the development infrastructure. Of course, it's been talked by other speaker already. And next is about the framework, the policies, the government rules and regulations. Of course, easy to make a business, or they have a lot of hurdles, or this is been simplified by My Mudah, or so on. I believe that this is the government effort to make ease of the making business in Johor especially. And talking, maybe I straightforward to what I want to talk about is about our talent and the workforce. This is one of the crucial point that perhaps that investor are question about. If talking about the talent in Johor especially, we have many university, many training centers, and many courses is provided. But the question is whether it's relevant to the industry or not. Okay, so talking to the workforce that is available, perhaps that they know maybe in theoretical, not in practical. In my experience in the industry, in the manufacturing, most of the staff or the workers, they have a lacking of the soft skills. For example, the critical thinking or problem solving. This is more crucial for the industry or for the company to solve any kind of issues when they're facing while for the daily basis job. So I believe that this can be enhanced on the syllabus in university, or perhaps then IRDA now working with some program which is we looking for the opportunity like a school leavers, which is not complete the SPM, providing with all the skills, technical courses. Then they have special certificate, professional certificate. You see, if not I'm mistaken, in Singapore, they are asking for the SKM certificate to work in Singapore. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in Malaysia, in Johor, are they recognized the SKM, the special certificate in industry? So I believe that this is need to be more what's so-called upgrades, the skill level of the what's so-called our Johorian, especially. They may be not good in academic, but they may be good and talented in skills. So why not we enforce or we enlarge this opportunity to these people, which is now you see many people want to work as a Grab food riders and so on, because they can have a flexible time when they want the money, then do the job. You know, this is happening now. The new generation, they want to become an influencer, they want to become a gamers, but they don't want to work industry, right? So why we not encourage them? We give some of the allowances, some of the what's called a good opportunity for them, right? We are in Johor, I believe. Why Singapore taking all our talent to Singapore? Because they have a talent, right? That's why we worry about Singapore grabbing our talent. Why not we developing the talent time to time so we can have a plenty of talent, right? So I believe can be collaborate with all the chambers, association, with the technical centers, universities, school, polytechnic, and many more. A lot of opportunity. So I talk more about this talent because now I'm doing my own, doing the training, management consultation, and so on. So anybody want to talk more about the manufacturing can talk to me after this. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sony Nizam. Okay, so we come to last speaker for the first round, Mr. President of Iskandar Malaysia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, please. 3 minutes.
Thank you, YB. First of all, I'd like to thanks for inviting me in this forum. Actually, my speech is a bit longer because I stress on the importance of what we call it this this digital era. Okay, talk so much about digital today. So I try to stress the important, what the opportunities that can see.
3.5 minutes, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hussain. Actually, in this digital age has come to the livelihood. It's become the livelihood of business, driving productivity, growth. The demand of the data storage, processing power, reliable connectivity has surged, presenting a unique opportunity in Johor, especially in Iskandar, for entrepreneurs and data center owners to expand the operation, which is many from Singapore. Johor Bahru, very strategic in terms of location, as mentioned before, because of the close proximity from Singapore. And then it's also offer a gateway to the thriving markets of South Asia with excellent connectivity and well-established transportation infrastructure, provide a convenient access point for business seeking to have a dynamic economic structure. Number two, the cost advantage, as mentioned earlier, compared to our neighboring Singapore, Johor Bahru offer a very competitive cost advantage in terms of real estate, labor, operational expenses. So by establishing a data center in Johor, you can benefit of the reduced overhead without compromising your quality and reliability on your infrastructure. Robust infrastructure, Johor Bahru is a resilient, reliable infrastructure with access to abundance of power supply, reliable network connectivity, and state-of-art facilities. CCT has made significant investment, especially in Iskandar area, enhancing its digital infrastructure, ensuring your data center operators can thrive with minimum disruption. Number four, the skilled workforce in Johor Bahru is a home of pool of talented professionals. IT specialists, engineers, technicians can support not only set up but the operation of your data center. Coupled with the Malaysian commitment, fostering a knowledge-based economy, a lot of universities around here, you can find easily skilled resources to meet your technical requirement. Again, the government support, as mentioned by MB this morning, government is very, very proactive, promoting investment in the technology and data center sectors, attractive, offer attractive, incentive, grants, initiative to support business looking to establish the data center, especially in Malaysia, including Johor Bahru. This initiative aims to foster enabling environment of business to thrive in Southeast. Okay, lastly, the RTS that be completed in 2027 or 2026 will be a game changer to the region, especially improving the transportation infrastructure between Johor Bahru and Singapore. This high-speed system will provide seamless and efficient mode of travel, allowing individual and business to traverse the border quickly and conveniently. The connectivity milestone will greatly benefit the data center industry. By opening data center in Johor Bahru, business can leverage the proximity of Singapore, one of the largest leading technology and financial. The RTS will facilitate smooth movement of the data center personnel, enabling them to easily commute between these two locations, collaborate with international partners, and tap into the vast opportunity available post-Malaysia. To capitalize this tremendous opportunity, I invite data owners, especially those already operating in Singapore, southern region, to consider your footprint in Johor Bahru. Establishing presence here can unlock new markets, leverage cost advantage, and contribute to the growth of this vibrant city. The potential for collaboration, innovation, economic growth that come with the establishment of that center in Johor Bahru is immense. Together, we can create dynamic ecosystem that nurture technology-driven business, accelerate digital transformation, and drive economic prosperity. I encourage you to explore the possibility, connect the local authorities, industry stakeholders, and seize the opportunity to be part of Johor Bahru digital future. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to witnessing the transformative impact of data center investment in Johor Bahru. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato Manov. Okay, now we completed 6 speakers ahead of expected time. So I give you more time for question and answer, okay? So please ask question. Anybody want to ask question? In fact, you can ask for 2 sessions. First session, no question, no even comment. So second session, I will open up for comment. So perhaps you're welcome. Red jacket. Give her a big hand.
Good afternoon. Is that on? Good afternoon, gentlemen. I've been listening from this morning and just now. It's all what I'm hearing is all about development, and I'm hearing gentlemen with property development. I'm also, because I'm from medical tourism, okay, and I've been doing this over 12 years. I have noticed there are more and more development for medical wellness city. And now the gentleman was talking about perhaps we must build for retirement home. Now, may I propose a few things? For the developers, perhaps have a look at who is your target market. For instance, geriatric. Or, well, we all call it senior citizen, but I call it geriatric in nursing care. Now, when you develop such a development for them, these are the, let's say we got Singaporean retirement, they come to Johor Bahru. They need to know what is it that you're providing in this environment. Are you going to provide geriatric care should they fall ill? Are you providing the screening care? Or are you just providing a house, a unit, a condominium where they can just pay for it and just sit there?
Okay, thank you very much.
and do
Thank you very
nothing?
much. I will ask Mr. Sim to respond on your question, please.
We are, Madam and me, gray hair, silver hair generation, we think of retirement, but we want to live longer and healthier. Huh? So now, retirement home is basically, we cater for people who retire but want to live longer. We incorporate the wellness facility, nursing care, and medical. So basically, we are planning, we should plan for two groups. One is retirement home with wellness, also retire home with aged care, old people who need medical support. So these are quite different. It's different from the old folk home when people almost going to die, you send there and dump it there. No. This retirement home is to, you from 50 retire, 60 retire, you can live to 100, at least same age with Mahathir. So this is the aim of this retire home.
Okay, one more question from this side, please. Berdirilah sikit. Dah lama duduk Please. Oh, very quiet. Okay, so we still have time. We have a very, very challenging target. 260 billion in 8 years and 7% compounding growth for the next 7 years, making GDP double up. So I think as far as investment, the FDI here from 2 gentlemen here, 3 gentlemen here, they are coming, I think, but they are competing as well to other state. DDI, our friend just now said, okay, DDI should be catching up with the FDI. DDI should do better than FDI, but DDI need local entrepreneur, local people, young people should involve in entrepreneurship. I was in the government, and then in the factory, and then in the politics. And at the age of 50, I become entrepreneur. I take risks, I invested. You makan gaji, you can expect gaji at the end of the month. If you are entrepreneur, no profit, no makan. No profit, no makan. So Mr. Sim just now mentioned about young people should go aggressively into entrepreneurship. So maybe we ask him more elaboration.
Okay, since the colony is mostly of young people, so we are age people. So that's why. So I came out from government at age 40. So any entrepreneur, you must decide what you want to do at the age 40. 20 years in university, 20 years go to the business world, then at age 40, you decide what you should do. You want to be entrepreneur, you want to be an entrepreneur, and take challenge. Come out from your comfort zone. That's why this be. So to be entrepreneur, first thing, you must be a risk taker. Of course, you all are better than us. Our time to go to university education is 10% of the student. But this time, you got 50%. So your knowledge is enough for you to do a calculated risk. Second, reskill. Develop your skill. I can tell you, university education only applicable knowledge 20% of what you study in the classroom. 80% outside the classroom is all skill. New skill, even this phone, life skill, upskill, reskilling, this is important. So even we import the FDI come to our country with sophisticated machine, we don't have the skill to operate. No technician. They say, sorry, we won't come here. This is very important. We need, as our Mr. Sonny is stretching on vocational school, TVET, trade and vocational education, very important. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Singapore, if they do a statistics, most of the entrepreneurs didn't come from NUS. They come from the technical school. Now they call it a modern DI school. Most of them, polytechnic students. That's it. So I think Malaysia, especially Johor, with the advantage of city Singapore, never mind, you go to Singapore, pick up the skill and come back to Malaysia and contribute to Johor and redevelop Johor. And your income as an entrepreneur is many times as a wage earner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sim. MB State. Oh, question, please. Please, ladies. Question. Short and sweet.
My name is Rasila. I'm from Iskandar Malaysia Chamber of Commerce. I have a question. We are positioning Johor as the heart of Southeast Asia. And we want to see Johor as a place to live, work, and play for business people from Singapore and Indonesia. Can I know from the panel, give your opinion, how we're going to strengthen this relationship and formalize, and in what format can it be? Thank you.
Oh. Anybody want to respond and answer on the strengthen relationship and three, Malaysia, Indonesia. This is a basic framework. As Mr. Herman said just now, there's already initiative to strengthen it. I think progress on the way. We believe in a win-win. It's not a zero-sum relationship. We will have special session with Perdana Menteri to ask that question. Yeah, you wait for a while. Thank you very much. Okay, now I will ask developed nation like France and also maybe Singapore. I'm sure they have a vibrant entrepreneurship program. I don't know how many of us here are really entrepreneur. Are you salaryman or government officer? But France has produced a lot of good entrepreneur. And maybe we hear something from Jermaine. How France develop entrepreneurship? Please.
Thank you. Actually, when we think about France, entrepreneurship is maybe not the first word that comes to mind because there is a large workforce working in the government, in public owned companies, and also we have a very high tax system which deter a lot of entrepreneurs to launch their business originally. But I was asked to share some success story. So I would like to share an initiative that was launched by the French government in 2014, so it's 9 years already, which is called La French Tech. So La French Tech is actually a label, certificate basically, of local and regional ecosystems that are totally based on volunteership, means you don't have any public subsidies, you don't have any membership fees, you don't have any physical organization. It's more recognizing an ecosystem of entrepreneurs that work together to share resources, know-how, and you have a chapter in most of the French provinces, but now you have it overseas as well. So we have La French Tech Malaysia, which regroups, I think now is more than 90 French, Malaysian, and third-party nationality entrepreneurs. They gather every month, usually. They have networking sessions, they have workshops that help any entrepreneur, whether it's a startup, a fintech, or any other business. Basically, you meet with your peers and you get, if you are in IT business, you get support on the legal aspect of your business, you get support on the finance, you get a lot of advisory from your peers. And again, it's totally free, totally open, but the government was the launched this initiative, and out of it, a few unicorns, French unicorns, were born. I think now we have 10 or 12 unicorns, where 10 years ago we had 0. So this is a good result of this initiative, creating this ecosystem of entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman. Perhaps like give opportunity to President Iskandar Chamber. How Chamber can help out in this creating, producing, promoting entrepreneur in Iskandar Malaysia. 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Baby. Actually, we in the Iskandar Malaysia, we have so many areas talking about this, what call it, economic. Talk about the green economy, we got digital, we got food security. We have so many areas where entrepreneurs can actually take advantage of this field that they are interested. So we have a lot of planning to have something like a workshop, conference, all these things. And also we have visit many of these area, especially in Indonesia. We learn how they call it. We make a business matching, create more entrepreneurship among the two countries. Also in Singapore, we visit them, we talk to them, and those interested in various aspect of business, they do the matching. And this one, not only locally, but we stress global. business matching that encourage entrepreneurship to go to higher level. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Now, Benedict has some idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you can contribute, please.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on what Jermaine mentioned about strong ecosystem, right? I think the problem here is that investors actually look for productivity, all right? They look for productivity and human capital drivers and strong ecosystem. You know, if I were to put it in perspective, if you look at the year 2021, Johor's GDP was 146 billion, and we were fourth in Malaysia after Selangor, KL, and Sarawak. So over the years, Sarawak and Johor have been almost neck to neck. But if you see what's happening now, I think if we are not careful, Sarawak will pull ahead of us. So we need to be really careful. I think what's important here is that, and this is based on the numbers that we have looked at, Johor is actually 20% below the national average in terms of product. I think this is something that we need to really look at closely. And I think we need to move the needle, as I said earlier. Yeah, we need to move the needle, and we need to make sure that we address this problem. And I think we need to look at ways how we can actually capitalize on strategic geolocation of Johor, all right? How we need to capture growth opportunities from our neighboring countries. Yeah, how do we address brain drain and widening income equality, all right? I mean, if you look at our next gen, are they gonna have reasonable job opportunities, you know, if there's no private investment or lack of private investment? Yeah, so we need to think about the next gen, our children, our children's children. The other thing is about shifting to a more high value add economy, right? We need to look at, as I said, we are 20% below the national average. I think we need to look at digital transformation, yeah? We need to think about how we can remain competitive, yeah? I mean, we have spoken about a lot of nice things, but I think sometimes people shy away from, you know, pointing out the truth. You know, Johor's productivity is not fantastic. We need to actually change. We need to move ahead and make sure that we are more productive. Yeah, if you look at states like Selangor, even KL, they are showing numbers above 200%. Yeah, why is Johor below 100%? At only about 70 or 80%. So we need to think about that. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Benedict. I always envy Toyota, Honda, Matsushita, Sony. Those are entrepreneurs. No? They are started up small many years ago and become big. Korea, the same thing, Samsung, or Taiwan. Singapore also not coming up many good companies because of a local entrepreneur. MB is mentioned about 4 million ringgit lah to develop entrepreneurship. I think Ganesh said not as far as startup for tax. And whereas Penang, every meeting, there are 20-30 people attended for startup activity in Penang. So Johor kosong, elect. Oh, question, please.
Hello. Hi. Malcolm Choi, Bangsa High Pavilion, one of the recipients earlier on for the property. My question is more specifically for EDB, Herman. So I'd like to find out the EDBs, what are the vision to collaborate with Johor State's government to joint develop Johor's economy that will align with Singapore's vision for Singapore and also to leverage on the advantages in Johor?
Very good question.
Okay, thanks. I'll try. But I should just sort of respond maybe to Mr. Sim, just to correct that, you know, not entrepreneurs don't come from any one particular source. They can be from the ITEs, they can be from the polytechnics, they can be from universities, they can be from university dropouts. There is no single archetype from Singapore or indeed globally where you come from. Entrepreneurship is not dependent on what school you graduate from, what piece of paper you have. It's a question of one, how industrious you are, two, whether you can solve a problem, and three, whether you really have something that people want to buy. It's got nothing to do with what school you come out from, right? And Singapore is no different from that. And I think just to sort of add to the whole point of entrepreneurship, we've been talking about ecosystem, right, Jermaine and Ben, and I think I just want to sort of echo that. The ecosystem, at least from the Singapore experience, has been very important. And La French Tech has been a fantastic sort of example of this. And it's one example of how to set it up. Singapore has a different sort of slightly different model, but it's got to adjust to your local sort of context, right? But I think there are a couple of common characteristics. If you just compare startups and tech in Singapore and startups and techs in La French Tech setup, there is capital, there is links to the institutes of higher learning or tertiary education, right? There must be a flow of talent, and there must be infrastructure. And I think those things are common fairly globally, whether you're looking at entrepreneurship in Singapore, in France, or in Malaysia, or in Iskandar Malaysia. So I think just make that point about entrepreneurship. To your question specifically, I think, well, first of all, to the lady who was asking just now, and I think Liang mentioned this as well, we have a very big and important platform with Iskandar Malaysia and a bilateral platform at the Joint Ministerial Committee that looks at Iskandar Malaysia, which will hopefully be taking place before too long. And that's a very important platform that serves at a G2G level between both sides to talk about really opportunities and bilateral cooperation in Iskandar Malaysia and Singapore and how that can be sort of formalized more clearly, right? And you made good points about how we can do more through this platform, right? So that's one. I think in terms of specific areas of focus, well, if you look at the verticals that the Joint Ministerial looks at, it looks at manpower, it looks at industrial cooperation, which EDB leads and co-chairs. It looks at how to make ultimately the movement of goods, services, and people more seamless. Because if we are interconnected more deeply together, and if we work together, which has been the common theme, I think, when we're talking about Singapore and Iskandar Malaysia, then I think that really is the ultimate objective. The sector specific, I think, we've been talking about manufacturing for a while. The examples that I gave looked at data, looked at manufacturing in different sectors. So I think those are also areas of focus that we can work on. Well, renewable energy is something that's interesting, and it's something that everyone is sort of looking at and trying to sort of figure out. I think there's certainly opportunities there as well, and we're always happy to sort of think about how to sort of do more on that front. I hope that answers your question.
You did not touch on the flow of people. If it's for manufacturing and things like that, that's well understood. But what I'd like to hear is that what are the policies for the aging populations in Singapore and how Johor can help Singapore to address those problems to facilitate maybe some of the retirees in Singapore would like to move in here. But on Singapore government side, what are the policies facilitation to enable the Singaporean who wish to move to Johor to stay? What are the facilitations on the Singapore government side? And on our side down here, how we can collaborate on that?
I'm not as plugged into that sort of stream of conversation. I'm looking at my own aged parents, and I would like them to stay in Singapore, close to where I am personally. So I can't speak for all retirees in Singapore, but I think they will make their own choices and their own decisions ultimately. There is that proximity that is favorable and that people sort of look at as well, but I think there is no formalized sort of plan and policy at the moment for what you've just asked about, easing the movement or trying to get retirees from Singapore to move to Johor. I think ultimately, right at the moment, we leave them to their own decisions, and they will be the best place to decide, well, this is where I want to sort of live out my golden years. Certainly, for my parents, I want them to be as close to me as possible, but that's my personal preference. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we started off 15 minutes late. So I have power to extend the session. Yeah? Okay, burning question, please.
Hi, my name is Stephen Lai. I just heard Singapore officer chair about Singapore and Malaysia. I spent 30 years in Singapore. I'm Malaysian from Penang. So I returned to Penang last 6 years ago. So I almost joined EDB as officer, first job out of school. But I chose to be entrepreneur in Singapore, which is quite unusual career in those days, in 80s, right? So what I realized that the last few years, I worked for Penang State Minister as an advisor for trade industry, entrepreneurship. And then I was surprised to see Penang is a very thriving entrepreneurship center of Southeast Asia, right? There are 8 companies in Penang who are on the Bursa Stock Exchange, 30 billion ringgit market cap in total. 8 samurai companies in Penang. Like this, Ganesh was saying that people like Pedamaster, Vitrox, right? 8 companies in Penang, 30 billion ringgit valuation. And my good friend, Dr. Lily Chan, who was heading Singapore and US enterprise for 8 years before she retired to Penang. Now she's a vice chancellor in Penang for Wasan Open University. She was one of the drivers, right? She was one of the main drivers. Because we asked EDB Singapore, how can you share with us your secret to success in entrepreneurship? He said, Stephen, you got your guys in Penang. Dr. Lee Chan was from the EDB, right? So we have people who are in Malaysia, who live in Singapore for 30 years, come back to Malaysia, helping Malaysia to build the scene, the entrepreneurship scene. So I feel that we need to be nice to Singapore, more nicer to move to Penang, because a lot of people want to come to Penang to move there, to retire there. But Johor is so near. So I'm happy to see this morning, the YAB say increase the number of officers to make it easy for us to come to Singapore, to Johor, right? To drive from Singapore to Johor is so near, but yet so far, right? In fact, it's easier to fly to Penang than to come to Johor sometimes, right? With the traffic jam. So I got friends from Singapore who love to come to Johor, but they always face obstacles, right? All the bad news on TikTok about Singaporeans who steal the petrol, 95. Actually, it's a very small minority of people like that, right? But most Singaporeans are quite nice, like, you know, the low, quite nice. So I feel that...
Question. Direct to the question.
The question is that as long as the Johor government keep the cost, YAB, right? Be nice to the tourists, open the borders, make it easy for them to come to invest. As a tourist and investor, Johor will take off. We don't need to go too far to attract investors from Vietnam, from everywhere.
Okay, we are now a new normal.
Yeah.
We are just come out from a lockdown 3 years. We just completed experience of 4 Menteri Besar within 5 years. So we hear from our young Menteri Besar.
Yeah.
He's just 43 years old. We have our session today.
Yep.
All the chambers, also the delegate. We will work with the state government closely.
Thank you.
And just now, in fact, Menteri Besar said our next session with KSI will be in Singapore somewhere in January. So we hope to bring more delegates from Johor, go to Singapore and meeting our counterpart in Singapore and see how we can do better and different for new Johor, for Johor Maju. Yeah. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, for the last round, anybody from the 6 on the stage here, anybody you want to wrap up or to conclude something maybe?
Okay, thank you, YB. Right, I'm more stressed on people or human or workforce. Let the government or Johor state doing for the infrastructure upgrading. I believe that you see Dato on Hafiz is very aggressive in terms of the what's called improving the potholes, the traffic jams, what been complained by Mr. just now. Perhaps that the jam will be lesser, 1 hour, perhaps. Okay, but you see. What we can do within these few months to make sure that the investor is coming in within 6 months is our readiness of our workforce. Okay, I believe that they want to come here to do the business and make a profit. If we don't have a good workforce and AI will be coming in, And the new technology also for the industry forward or the industry 4.0, we don't have the people to run the equipments. We don't have people to know about the AI to improve about our facility and the what's it called, the operations. So how we want to run the business? So therefore, the readiness of the workforce is, I think, is critical in here. So even though we have many universities, we have many polytechnics or training centers, the enhancement of the level of the syllabus need to be improved. Therefore, thank you very much.
So a lot of things to be done and a lot of catch-up work and polling job to be done. I think MB already happy with us. Hopefully, whatever conclusion in today's session will be presented to MB and see how MB will act on it. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for your hard work and nervousness. So I hope to see you again next year. Arigatou gozaimasu. Leave it.
Thank you so much, Salikon, for the very vibrant session. I'd like to invite all the panelists here on stage for photography session.